Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons have been one of the more entertaining duos in the league over the last couple of seasons. On one hand, you have Ben Simmons, who's one of the best playmakers and passers in the NBA, especially in transition. And on the other hand, you have Joel Embiid, who's very charismatic with an infectious personality and is one of the most dominant post players that the league has seen in a very long time. And just 1 year ago, they were one shot away from going to the conference finals and potentially the NBA finals had they beaten the Milwaukee Bucks in the presumed conference finals matchup. But unfortunately, the shot did go in, and the 76ers have been on a downward spiral since. As in the next offseason, they decided to part ways from JJ Redick, who is a very vital part of their offense, and they traded Jimmy Butler to the Miami Heat in exchange for Josh Richardson, even though Jimmy wanted to go there, but they had to get something back, so Josh Richardson, I guess, was the consolation prize. But unfortunately, Ben Simmons suffered an injury that would cause him to miss the playoffs, and it ended up leading to them being swept in the first round by the Boston Celtics. Joel Embiid had an amazing series statistically, but we all know one man can only do so much, and the outcome of that series further proved that. So going into this offseason, the Sixers were in a very tough situation. It was obvious they needed to move in a new direction as far as the head coaching position went, so they ended up parting ways from Brett Brown and brought in Doc Rivers. For those who have seen my infamous videos about the Los Angeles Clippers, you know I am very critical of Doc Rivers. I think he's more of a motivational coach than an actual X and O's kind of guy, but regardless, to many people, he's still somewhat of an upgrade from Brett Brown. And then in the front office, they made some moves and decided to bring in Daryl Morey. And almost instantly, Daryl Morey let his impact be felt on that organization. He offloaded that terrible contract of Al Horford to the Oklahoma City Thunder in exchange for Danny Green. He also had to give up a pick, but honestly, it really isn't that big of a deal. Because sure, you're losing an asset that you could use, but regardless, Al Horford's contract is so bad that it's worth giving up a first round pick. And it's not even like Al Horford's trash, he was just trash in Philly alongside Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. He was a complete bust over there, and honestly, Al Horford in a Sixers uniform is gonna look so weird in like 10 to 15 years. But regardless, he wasn't done there. He ended up trading Josh Richardson in exchange essentially for Seth Curry. And I love that transaction. That is a great move for the Philadelphia 76ers because yes, you do lose some perimeter defense with Josh Richardson, but you still have Ben Simmons and you also still have Embiid. So I don't think that Curry's lapses on the defensive side of the ball will be as exploitable as many people may think. And staying on the subject of defense, that leads me even into their draft pick that they got in Tyrese Maxey. I'm a Kentucky fan, so I may be biased, but I think he has potential to grow into one of the better defensive players in the league sooner rather than later. I think he will have an immediate impact on the defensive side of the ball. His jump shot definitely needs a little bit more work, but I like the pickup due to the fact that he can contribute right away and he's going to get some playoff experience, and that's always a plus for any young player's development in the NBA. But the moves did not just stop there, because you have Dwight Howard, who also signed with the Philadelphia 76ers, and sure, I do admit that I do have some doubts when it comes to Dwight Howard and Ben Simmons as far as the fit when they're on the court, but Dwight is still a solid lob threat and is a good post presence to have on any team, so it's not like he can't contribute. And when you consider the fact that Embiid's health is always a cause for concern every single season, getting Dwight Howard was not the worst option available. It was actually one of the better options among all the backup centers that they could have on this roster. So now that you take a step back and you evaluate the situation of the Philadelphia 76ers, as far as I'm concerned, the ball is now in Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid's hands. Because what I constantly heard from Sixers fans all of last year is that the Sixers roster just did not fit, and that Elton Brand essentially ruined this roster when he let JJ Redick walk in free agency, gave Tobias Harris a max contract, and traded Jimmy Butler in exchange for Josh Richardson. And to be fair to Sixers fans, I understand that y'all still do have Tobias Harris on your roster on that huge ass contract that you still have 4 more years to endure, but considering that now Tobias can actually play the power forward position where he was most effective, especially during his time with the Clippers, I think that his productivity will go up next season, especially his lapses on the defensive side of the ball. You won't really notice them as much, but aside from Tobias's contract, Daryl Morey has given the pieces to Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid to work, get the job done, and eventually win a championship, or at the very least, get out of the Eastern Conference. They have shooters to make up for the fact that Simmons won't take a shot outside of the restricted area. Guys like Danny Green, don't forget Shake Milton came along last year as a nice spot up shooter, and Seth Curry, who's one of the greatest shooters of all time statistically. The only legitimate excuse that Sixers fans should have up their sleeves this year is injury risk. That's it. And to that, my answer is quite simple. Oh well, because if Joel Embiid were to suffer some fatal season-ending injury or a postseason injury, knock on wood, but if that were to happen, that would just further confirm that Joel Embiid is just never going to be healthy enough to be a franchise cornerstone, at least as long as he's wearing a Philadelphia 76ers uniform. Because I don't think people fully understand that the clock is already ticking for a guy like Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid will be entering his 7th season in the NBA next year. 7th season. Think about that. The guy is going to be turning 27 years old in March. He is already in his prime, and he's already suffering injuries damn near every single week, it feels like. And it's not all on him. Big men just have a tendency to get hurt a lot. It's common. But at the end of the day, it's still the reality of the 76ers and Joel Embiid's career that he is an injury-prone player. So if that's the case, you just need to accept that and move on from him if he gets hurt again. And mind you, Simmons is also going to be turning 25 years old next year. And let's not forget, Ben Simmons will also be entering his 5th year in the NBA. Yes, I understand he's only played 3 years, but that injury still took time off of his career. He missed a year due to an injury already, and last year he missed the playoffs due to an injury. Not calling him injury prone, but it looks like injuries might be a part of his career as well. So as far as I'm concerned, the clock is ticking on this duo. And I'm not trying to sound like a negative Nancy when I say this, but I'm tired of hearing about potential when it comes to Ben Simmons. I'm tired of hearing about potential when it comes to this duo. It's time for us to start seeing results. Because Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they're giving you results. The Bucks a couple of years ago were hyped up, and guess what? Right now, they're giving you results. It may not be the results that a lot of people want, but nonetheless, it's still results. The Sixers, what have they given us? Like honestly, what have they given us for real? Like what's the point of having all this potential if it's never going to truly manifest into any results? And that's what the Sixers need to prove, that they can actually get results. But hey, that's just my opinion. Let me know your opinions down below in the comment section. Also drop a like, it helps out the channel very much and I would appreciate it. If you enjoy my channel, hit that subscribe button and push the bell for post notifications. Follow me on social media, the links are down below. Check out my articles as well as the Overtime podcast. The links for all of that are in the description box down below. This is your boy, Your Mustard, signing out. Peace.